See that same YSL hand sign states exhibit 2W?
I do.
Okay. Next, looking at 3W. What, if anything, what hand sign is in 3W?
So that is the hand sign for the 9 Trey Gangster Bloods.
Peter Roll My Lifestyle. What does that mean?
So Peter Roll is a term within 9 Trey for killing someone.
Looking at 17W. Do you see that same YSL hand sign?
I do.
And as a gang investigator, the fact that his Facebook account, this is Christian Eppinger, is titled YSL Brisk, what, if any, significant investigator?
So first, gang members will often use their social media name, associating themselves with their gang and making that part of their identity. His name is Christian. He's shortened that to Chris, but of course he's replaced the letter C with the letter B to call it Briss, as a respect for the Bloods and a disrespect to the Crips.
Now, we're going to look at particular tattoos. Now, back in November, you talked about specific tattoos that YSL gang members may have. We're going to look at the next. And we're going to look at 13W. It's exhibit 13W.
I do.
And where is that on his body?
It's on his right cheek.
Okay. And I'm going to show you what's already been admitted as exhibit 18. And do you appear to see that same YSL tattoo on his face as exhibit 18V?
I do.
Now looking at State's exhibit, what's already been admitted, showing you again, State's exhibit 9U. Now looking at State's exhibit 9U, you said you're familiar with that as being a tattoo on Trontavia Stevens.
I am.
What, if any, significance is that tattoo specifically, any significance of that tattoo?
So East Coast blood sets that are associated with UBN or the United Blood Nation often represent their gang using the number 5 or a 5-point star. The gang also represents itself through the use of the color red.
Oral, sir.
Okay. As well as the letter B. So we see those 3 things combined here into this tattoo.
All right. Now looking at State's exhibit 2U. Looking at exhibit 2U, do you see the YSL tattoo?
I do.
And for you as a gang member, any significance about that YSL lifestyle tattoo?
Yes, so gang members often get their gang's acronym or initials tattooed on their person, which appears to be the case in this photograph.
And can you see if there's any color within that tattoo?
There is.
And what color is that?
It's red ink.
Any significance about that being red for you as a gang investigator?
Again, that color red is associated with blood gangs.
Okay. Now looking at exhibit 3U. All right. Looking at exhibit 3U, one, is there any significance, again, with the K, with that being a K as opposed to a C?
Yes, the letter C has been replaced by the letter K. That's another way that bloods will sometimes represent. Replacing the C, sometimes with a B, sometimes with an X, or sometimes, as in this instance, with a K.
Okay. I think the next step is going to be 40. While this is not a tattoo, I believe you testified this earlier, the significance of that. Is that Compton?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is that the same significance as them changing the C to a B that you've already referenced?
It is.
Now I'm going to actually go to 8U. All right. Looking at stakes 8U and 8U Bravo, do you see the slime tattoo?
I do.
And in looking at the slime tattoo, we talked about it earlier. Is that word slime significant with YSL?
It is.
And looking at that AU and AUB, Is it appear that the S for slime is made with a snake?
It does.
Is there any significance of that snake as it relates to the gang YSL?
Sure, that's a symbol that YSL often uses in their social media posts, tattoos, and other instances.
Now, in your experience as a gang investigator, have you ever heard any YSL member say that slime meant slug, love, I, me?
I have not.
And at this point, in your experience, about how many YSL members have you spoken with, interviewed, over the course of investigating YSL?
I would say several dozen.
Okay. And none of those said that slime means slug, love, I, me.
I stand the objection.
You can stand up when you object. I don't know.
That was Mr. Matthews first, and the confrontation.
I think Mr.
They're overruled.
And in your experience, has any of those individuals said that slime means slug, love, I, me?
Never.
Now I'm going to show you what's already been admitted as Defense Exhibit 35. Now looking at Defense Exhibit 35, do you see any tattoos or any gang identifiers that you've already mentioned previously within that state's exhibit, defense exhibit?
Yes, I believe that there's a Boston Red Sox B tattoo on the front of the right shoulder.
And we're going to zoom in. Do you see that Boston Red B?
I do.
Okay. And if you want to stand up, or there's a stick at the top of the whiteboard. If you can point to where that Boston B is.
It's right here.
And in that picture, that's similar to the Boston B that we saw a few moments ago on the cover of that ABG video with Bloody Jack.
It is.
That would be leading, if you don't mind.
I don't like the commentary, but I'll sustain the objection.
Do you recall seeing the picture earlier with Bloody J?
I do.
And do you recall Mr. Bloody J? Do you recall Bloody J having a B on his face?
I do.
And is this tattoo on Defense Exhibit 35 similar to or consistent with that same picture that was in that picture with Bloody J?
It is.
Right. And is that Boston B a blood identifier?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay. I'm going to also show you what's been previously admitted before. Looking at Defense Exhibit 34, are you able to see the tattoo that is on Mr. Williams' finger?
I am.
Okay. And what is on his finger?
It says slat.
Okay. And you're on permission to approach?
You may, madam.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 57W. Do you recognize Exhibit 57W?
I do.
How do you recognize Exhibit 57W?
I have previously seen this photograph.
Photograph.
It was on the internet.
And is that a picture from what you've seen on the internet of Mr. Williams?
It is.
Does that appear to be Mr. Williams?
It is.
And does that picture appear to have the same slat tattoo that you just referenced from Defense Exhibit 34?
It does.
Your Honor, this sounds like the tender states Exhibit 57W into evidence.
On your objection, sir.
All right. States 57. Maybe published as you see fit.
Thank you. And look, I say Exhibit 57W, is that the same slat that you just referenced in Defense Exhibit 34?
Yes, it is.
And as a gang investigator, for you, is there any significance about where that slat is placed on that particular finger?
There is. It's tattooed on the outside of the index finger so that when he's making the YSL wipe your nose hand sign, that tattoo is visible.
All right. Now I'm going to show you what's already been admitted as defense exhibit Williams 31.
Can I pause for just a second? I've been asked to take a comfort break.
Okay.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a comfort break for 10 minutes, please. Detective Belknap will go ahead and excuse you as well. 10 minutes, sir, okay? All rise. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our jury has left us. We're in recess for 10 minutes.
Hey there, I'm Jesse Weber, and thanks for watching the Young Thug trial here at Law&Crime, where we bring you live coverage of high-profile trials and individuals accused of committing some pretty terrible crimes. I'll tell you one thing, it's a stark reminder that the world isn't always the safest place. Well, that is why I want to shine a light on this week's trial coverage sponsor, Morgan & Morgan. When you're injured, figuring out what to do next can be pretty overwhelming. That's where Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm, comes in. A whopping 3 million people turn to them every year. And their process is a game changer. Picture this. You submit your claim, you sign contracts, you upload documents, you communicate with your whole legal team, all from your phone. It's that simple. And what's even more impressive, an attorney reviews your case in just 8 clicks. That speed is remarkable. You submit a claim, they start fighting for you. And if you're concerned about costs, well, you only pay them if you win. There's no upfront fee. So if you're ever injured in an accident or at work, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. You can submit a claim in 8 clicks or less by visiting forthepeople.com/youngthug.
They ready?
Yeah,
Huh?
I'm making sure y'all was straight. All rise for the jury.
All right, thank you, Sergeant Ingram. Ladies and gentlemen, please proceed.
All right, Ms. Hilton, you may resume your examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Investigator Belknap, going back to State 55W, which was that third video that we watched, what year was that video?
That video was posted, I believe, on October 25th of 2014.
Okay. And are you familiar with the song that was playing in the second portion of the video?
I am.
Okay. Do you know what song that is?
It's Danny Glover.
Okay. And do you know, are you aware of when that song was released?
I don't know the release date. I do believe that it was in 2014.
Okay, thank you. All right, now I want to show you what's been admitted as Defense Exhibit Williams 31. And are you familiar with who this individual is?
I am.
And who is that?
It's Dwayne Carter.
Okay, and does he have another name that he goes by?
He does.
And what is that?
Lil Wayne.
And are you aware, through any of your non-training experience, if Mr. Carter, Dwayne Carter, self-identifies as a member of the Blood?
I believe that he does.
Okay. And looking at Defense Exhibit 31, do you see any Blood gang identifiers within Defense Exhibit 31?
I do.
And if you can tell the jury, if you need to stand with the stick and point to what those identifiers are within Defense Exhibit 31.
There's a large MOB across his chest, and in red around the O it says Damu. Damu being a Swahili word meaning blood, often used particularly by West Coast Bloods, but is used across the country. He has 5 red 5-point stars across his chest, and I don't believe you can see it in this picture well, but he has Pyru tattooed about right here, just under his chest.
And what's the significance of Pyru
So Pyru is the name of the gang that I understand that he claims.
that he claims? Now, how long have you been an investigator, just generally?
I've been a detective since August of 2012.
Okay. And when did you get assigned to the gang unit?
In August of 2009.
All right. As a law enforcement officer or as an investigator, in your general experience, is it more common that criminals tend to hide their crimes?
They do.
And is that different than your experience in dealing with gang individuals who are in gangs?
In some ways.
Okay, when you say in some ways, tell us what you mean.
Gang members also try to conceal the evidence of their crimes. However, they are more likely to post social media posts to make public
Basis.
Asked and answered this, go back in November.
I'll overrule the objection, sir.
Go ahead.
They're more likely to tout or flaunt their criminal activities in social media, in public, in music and things of that nature than what we've seen other criminals who are maybe not affiliated with the street gang.
And do gang members typically use social media to boost their notoriety or reputation in the community?
Absolutely.
And in your experience, have gang members or associates used social media to boast about doing violence for the gang on social media?
Certainly.
And based on your knowledge, training, experience as an expert in criminal street gangs, what, if any, benefit can that behavior, boasting on social media, provide for the gang itself?
Not beyond the ken of the jury, Your Honor.
Overrule, sir.
The boasting on social media has the possibility or the prospect of reaching a broad audience, and that boasting by the individual who is claiming affiliation with the gang is representing the gang, and if they're representing the gang well in the eyes of the gang, that also bolsters and strengthens the image or the reputation of the gang as a whole.
So I'm going to go back to those Facebook posts with Christian Eppinger. And I want to specifically look at, God bless you, Ron, 4W. And looking at this post on 4W, based upon what you just discussed, is this the type of messaging or posting that would promote the gang or promote YSL?
Absolutely.
And why is that?
So this is a private text conversation between him and someone else. This other person expresses their belief that YSL kills people and their fear of YSL. He's now screenshotted this and posted this on social media as a way to brag about how feared YSL is by other people.
Okay. And when you also look back at State's Exhibit 6W, and we saw this earlier. First, is there any gang identifiers within this video, in this Facebook post?
There are.
And what is it?
The hand sign he's showing with his left hand is the C, which is the hand sign for the Crips. He's made his hand into the shape of a gun and pointing at the C as a way to disrespect the Crips, as a way to show disrespect to them. And then he's used these emojis in the caption for this post. He's used the wheelchair emoji, which is a common Crip identifier, one of their symbols. And he's got the gun pointed at the Crip identifier, and then he's got the snake, again, the common YSL identifier, with a heart behind that.
And now looking at 8W. Now here, talking about boasting of violence for the gang, is this similar in nature to that kind of boasting about the gang, with his name being YSL Brisk and having a picture with either himself or someone else with a whole bunch of guns and the caption saying, "Who said they want smoke?"
Absolutely.
And why is that?
Clearly it's a show of strength. It's a show of being heavily armed with firearms. And the term smoke essentially means who wants war, who wants battle, who wants to do violence. And showing off the number of guns you have, of course, is an attempt to intimidate someone else, to say, you don't want to mess with us because we're ready to do violence. That's the purpose of this and other many types of posts that we see from our criminal street gangs.
And again, what was the date of that post?
This was April 22nd of 2015.
Okay. Now, we're going to go to what has already been admitted as State's Exhibit 21W. Now, looking at State's Exhibit 21W, what is the jury looking at?
These are some of the captured tweets from Mr. Williams' account.
All right. And if you could read for us the first two tweets on 21W.
So these say, I love my rock fam, and then he mentions at Rock Crew Daddy-O, at YoungZoo1, at Maybach Rock Crew, hashtag follow now.
Okay. And then the second one?
The second one is a repost of a comment by at MonMDC, who said, at Young Thug World, I seen it in with a Crip flag today, talking about he with the rock. And the response added on to the end is, boy, stop, never that.
Okay. And with Twitter, is the response, boy, stop, either comma, or period, never that. Would that be Young Thug responding to that initial tweet?
Objection, that's speculation.
Oh, yeah. I should also say objection is a form. You can rephrase it.
Do you know how Twitter works?
I do.
And with Twitter, when the individual who is responding, where generally would the response be? Would that be before or after the quotation mark?
The post that's being replied to or reposted would be in quotations at the beginning of the post, and then the response would follow the end quotation.
So in this example, the quotation mark at MonMDC, colon at Young Thug World, I seen a nigga with a Crip flag today talking about he with the rock, quote, end quote, that would be what MonMDC posted?
That's correct.
And then after that quotation would be the response?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Now looking at, hold on a second, 22W. What does it say in this tweet?
It says, if you want to know what Cleveland is, it's where the bloods be.
Okay. And as a gang investigator, is there any significance regarding any identifiers about bloods within this tweet here?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is that?
Using the term Cleveland instead of Cleveland, and then saying explicitly that it's where the bloods be.
Okay. And based on your experience, were there bloods off of Cleveland Avenue?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. We're going to go now to 24W. What does 24W say?
24W says, I think I might join Duct Tape because they with the hashtag BS and the hashtag rock with the hashtag BS2, straight, and then two up arrows.
Okay. And what was the date of this tweet?
December 14th of 2011.
And again, any blood identifiers, any significance with any gang identifiers in 24W?
When he says duct tape, he actually, instead of spelling it D-U-C-K, he spells it with a double K, not using the C in duct.
Okay. And what about cause?
And also in cause, and then he's got his hashtag ROC within this post as well.
All right. Next, we're going to look at 25W. What's the date of 25W?
January 15th of 2012.
And what does it say?
And excuse the language, it says, ain't giving me shit, so I'm not coming nowhere. Yo shit, gonna get shoot up. FR, exclamation point.
And based on your knowledge transfer, do you know what FR is?
I do.
And what is FR?
Means for real, for real.
All right. And that's on January 15, 2012.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I want us to go to 26W. Okay. What's the date of the first tweet on 26W?
January 24th of 2012.
And what does that tweet say?
It says, hey, thugger, baby, got my whole RO5, MD5 behind me, yeah.
And based on your knowledge and experience, any significance of the RO5/MD5?
So this is during a time when we knew that Raised on Cleveland had a partnership or alliance with MDC, which is Most Dangerous Clique. They came from the Bowen Homes area, northwest Atlanta. Both of them were claiming association with a blood gang, so they were replacing the C in their gang acronym with the number 5. So that's where we get the RO5 and MD5.
Okay. And then is there a tweet beneath that?
There is.
And what is the date of that tweet?
January 2nd of 2012.
And what does that tweet say?
It says, "We literally up, baby, RO5 and MD5, the richest young families out right now."
Okay. And is that R5 and MD5 the same explanation that you just gave?
Yes, ma'am.
And then do you see that C changed to a K in the word riches?
I do.
All right. And is that consistent with what you testified to, something that you note blood to do? Is that
Outstanding questions.
Is that consistent with what we've already testified?
Yes, ma'am.
What you've already testified about it?
That's correct.
Now looking at State's Exhibit 27W. What's the date of this tweet?
This is April 24th of 2012.
And what is this? What is the tweet?
It has two gun emojis, and then it says Pistol Pete.
And what, if any, significance is the two gun emojis and Pistol Pete?
So Pistol Pete is the nickname for Peter Rollick, the founder of Sex, Money, Murder, and the two guns are the hand sign or the symbol for Sex, Money, Murder.
All right. Looking at 28W. What's the date of the first tweet on 28W?
April 22nd of 2012.
And what does that tweet say?
This says SMM R05 MD5 30D Holmes hashtag Chico Talk.
And in your experience, what, if any, significance does this have?
He's strung together this alliance that we were observing at the time between Sex, Money, Murder, Raised on Cleveland, Most Dangerous Click, and 30D. And he's also, when he says Chico Talk, he's replaced both of the C's in Chico with K's.
And then looking at the tweet from August 27th, 2012.
And this one says RO5 crew / SNM, they riding for thugga, hashtag Blatt.
All right. And RO5, is that rock, and would that be crew?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now looking at 29W. What's 29W? What's the date of that tweet? I'm sorry.
June 21st, 2012.
And what does that tweet say?
It says, everybody go follow Bloody Bro at cartel_DK on Twitter and Instagram, Blatt RT.
All right. And do you know, are you familiar with the at cartel_DK?
I am.
And how are you familiar with that vanity name?
That account was used by Walter Murphy, and that's his nickname.
And was there any significance about cartel?
Yes, ma'am.
What is that?
So cartel refers to Red Cartel. They're a clique from the same sort of area as Raised on Cleveland. We talked about them back in November, but they were a separate gang with a very close relationship with Raised on Cleveland.
All right. And looking at State's Exhibit number 30W. All right, we're gonna move to State's Exhibit 33W. What is the date of that tweet?
This is September 15th of 2012.
Okay, and what does that tweet say?
It says at cartel_DK and I Rolakin, and then it has a link to an Instagram post.
And what is what, if any, significance is there of and I Rolakin?
So again, Rolakin is a reference to Sex, Money, Murder, and Peter Rollick, its founder.
All right. What's the next exhibit? Okay. And in 34W, we have the two tweets that we just saw from April 22nd and August 27th. I'm going to look at the first tweet. What is the date of the first tweet?
It's January 31st of 2013.
And what does that tweet say?
It says, I'm in love with SMM, we having a baby.
Okay. And SMM, is that Sex, Money, Murder?
It is.
All right. Looking at 35W. What's the date of that tweet?
For 35?
Yes.
That is January 31st of 2013.
And what does that tweet say?
It says, salute to all my slimes, all my bloods, all the thugs.
All right. Now look at 36W. What's the date of 36W?
That is February 5th of 2013.
And what does the tweet say?
It says, don't worry if I'm shooting long as you get shot.
All right. Looking at Exhibit 37W. What's the date of that tweet?
December 13th of 2013.
And what does the tweet say?
Hashtag YSL, Young Slime Life, hashtag slat.
And look at 38W. What's the date?
January 23rd of 2014.
And what does it say?
It says free my slimes, hashtag DK, and hashtag Mondo, all my slimes retweet.
Okay. Any significance with that particular tweet as a gang investigator?
Sure, so obviously referring to these two people hashtagged as his slimes, is including them within the gang membership. Hashtag DK stands for Dewey Cartel, which is Walter Murphy's nickname, and Mondo is the nickname for Fremondo Crenshaw.
All right. Then looking at 39W. Looking at Exhibit 39W, what's the date of 39W?
March 24th of 2015.
And what is the post?
It mentions at Hades Slug and says he has slime with a snake emoji.
Okay, and do you know who was in that picture?
I do.
Who was that?
It's Trontavia Stevens.
All right. And looking at 42W, what's the date of 42W?
May 12th of 2018.
And what is the post?
It says YSL Gang, Jonesboro South Gang, Cleveland Gang, Rock Gang, Free Band Gang, 21 Gang for life, hashtag no matter what.
And what, if any, significance does this particular tweet have with the enumeration of these 5 gangs?
What they're doing here is listing all these gangs together and showing that they have an association with each other.
Okay. Next, I want to go to 43W. And I want to particularly go to the last tweet, which is on May 20th, 2012. The bottom. Okay. What does that tweet say?
It says, every real white blood wear beads, so don't start no fuck shit, my end.
Okay. And the beads, do you know what beads they're referencing at all?
So oftentimes gang members at the time and sometimes even now will wear beads with certain color configurations on them as a way to represent their gang.
Okay. And do those beads consist of the beads that Trontavia Stevens had on in an earlier exhibit?
They do, yes.
All right. Now looking at 44W. Looking at both the first and the second tweet. We'll start with the second tweet first. What date is that second tweet?
It's July 11th of 2012.
And what's the post?
It says hashtag blat, hashtag blat.
And then looking at the third tweet, July 16, 2012. What is that post?
It says hashtag blat, hashtag blat, hashtag blat, hashtag blat, hashtag blat.
And then September 4th, 2012.
That says blat, blat.
Okay. And again, what is blat?
Blood love all the time.
All right. Now we'll look at 45W. Now looking at State's Exhibit 45W, I want to focus specifically on the tweet that's December 29th, 2011. Do you see that tweet?
Yes, ma'am.
What's tweeted?
It says photo on the Ave with the rock crew. SO to at John Rowe Visions.
And what is underneath that?
It has a link.
Okay. Now I'm going to show you 45WA. Is that the link that it went to?
It is.
All right. And looking at State's Exhibit 45WA, one, is this, what if any significance is 45WA, the picture?
The picture is a group of people, some of whom are throwing gang hand signs and displaying other gang identifiers in the picture.
And do you recognize any individuals within 45WA?
I do.
And who do you recognize?
I see Mr. Williams. I see Walter Murphy. I see Jason Body, Jamonta Smith, Demontanez Stevens. That's all I can recognize from here.
Okay, and what I'm going to ask you to do, because I'm sure the jury didn't see who you saw, so if you can take your stick and point out the individual that you just said that you saw.
So this is Mr. Williams. That's Jason Body, Walter Murphy. On the top of the left is DeMonte Stevens. This is Jamonta Smith. I believe that's all the ones I named.
Okay. And you said that you saw some gang identifiers. What, if any, gang identifiers do you see? And what do they represent?
In this picture, Mr. Williams is throwing the hand sign we saw associated with Rock Crew. And then Mr. Smith is throwing a 5-point star. It looks like Mr. Stevens is throwing that blood gang hand sign, as is this gentleman here. You can also see some use of red clothing and a red bandana across Mr. Smith's face.
And he has a bandana across his face. How do you know that that's Mr. Smith?
I can recognize him from what's visible in the photograph.
Okay. And have you had experience with him such that you could recognize him?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now I want to look at 46W. I want to direct your attention to the tweet that's on April 14th, 2012. Do you see that tweet?
I do.
All right. And do you see a particular tweet that's in quotes?
I do.
And what's the tweet that's in quotes?
It says, it's that girl Aspen to Young Thug World, where you been, and then a B emoji.
And then is there a response to that tweet?
There is.
And what's the response?
It says, Believeland where the bees be.
And based on your experience, is there a significance between the two B's that are where the bees be?
Yes, often blood gang members will use the red B emoji as a way to represent their gang in their tweets and their posts, and making use of the letter B, referring to the bloods where the B's, shortening that to bloods and then saying where they be. That's obviously grammatically incorrect. Bloods will often do that again to elevate their gang, to have another way to insert that word or letter B into what they're saying.
Okay. And I'm going to look at 48W. And specifically looking at the post that's on August 10th, 2012 at the bottom of the page.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you see a tweet?
I do.
In parentheses?
I do.
And what's the tweet that's in parentheses?
It says, @Ricky Rose, and then a colon, and it says, follow the code.
And is there a response after the closed quotation mark?
There is.
And what is it?
It says, SMM for life.
All right. Looking at 49W, I want to direct your attention to the post that's on July 1st, 2012.
Yes, ma'am.
And what does that post read?
It says, my blood brother @cartel_DK, #I5FN3 on the way though.
And do you know anything about that #I5FN3?
I do.
Okay, what is that?
So this refers to a mixtape that was being released called I Came From Nothing 3. They, at the time, were using this hashtag ICFN3 as an abbreviation for I Came From Nothing 3, but in this case they changed the C to a 5 as a way to disrespect Crip gangs and elevate blood gangs.
Okay. And the individual in the picture, do you know who that is?
I do.
And who is that?
And that's Walter Murphy.
All right. And what is Walter Murphy doing in that picture?
He's holding up looks like a flyer for the mixtape.
Is he doing anything with his other hand?
He is.
What is he doing with his other hand?
He's making that B hand sign with his right hand.
And do you see any of those beads on his hand as well?
I do.
On his wrist? And where are those beads at on his wrist?
They're on his right wrist.
All right. Now I want to look at Stacey's Exhibit 50W. And we're going to look at February 16th, 2014.
Yes, ma'am.
What does that tweet say?
It says, "Happy B-Day at Birdman 5-star, love you blood."
Okay. And do you know who at Birdman 5-star, whose vanity name is that?
I do.
And who is that?
Brian Williams.
All right. And does Brian Williams have another name that he goes by?
He does.
And what is that?
That's Birdman.
All right. And is there any significance with that 5 within 5 stars specifically within his vanity name?
Often within blood gangs, a person of rank or stature may have the rank of 5-star or 5th floor, a high rank, and they may refer themselves as 5-star.
Okay. Now looking at State's Exhibit, on that same State's Exhibit of 50W, I want to direct your attention to May 5th of 2012. Put that on here. Sorry, May 15th, 2012.
Yes, ma'am.
What does that tweet say?
It says, "Where my blood bro at on Cleveland."
All right. And then also looking at January 11th, 2013, what does that tweet say?
It says, "On my bloods, hashtag twisted, we cross it in out, hashtag blat."
Okay. And then on this exhibit, January 31st, 2013,
Yes, ma'am.
what does that tweet say?
"Salute to all my slimes, all my bloods, all the thugs."
All right. Now I'm going to show you, hold on. What I've sent to the Defense Council as Exhibit 52W Alpha and 52W Bravo. Do you recognize Exhibit 52W Alpha and 52W Bravo?
I do.
And how do you recognize Exhibit 52W Alpha and 52W Bravo? God bless you.
Thank you. These are screenshots from the 2 videos that we observed earlier.
And does those appear to be fair and accurate depiction of the screenshot of the 2 of the videos we saw earlier?
Yes, ma'am.
And are the two videos with Trontavious Stevens?
They are.
All right, Your Honor, this time say that I turn Exhibit 52W Alpha and 52W Bravo into evidence.
Cumulative, Your Honor.
Can I see him, please?
Sure.
I'm gonna overrule the objection and admit, or objection. States 52 Whiskey Alpha and States 52 Whiskey Bravo.
Okay, thank you. Permission to publish.
You may publish as you see fit.
We're still looking at Exhibit 52W. What does it say in 52W?
It says, "Me and homie Rolakin, hashtag blat," by Rock Slug, June 16th, 2012.
And was this caption in the early part of those videos where we saw 52W?
Yes, it was.
What, if any, gang identifiers are in that particular caption?
Gang members often refer to themselves as homie. That is a term that was commonly used and originally used within street gangs, but may be used outside of that as well. It says they're Rolakin, which again is a reference to Sex, Money, Murder, Bloods, and the hashtag blat for blood, love, all the time.
And in 2012, was Rock Crew associating themselves with Sex, Money, Murder back in 2012?
They were.
All right. Now looking at 53W Bravo. At the bottom, what is the titling of the video?
It's RO5 We Bullin by Rock Slug.
Okay, and what, if any, significance, again, is the RO5 and We Bullin?
RO5 is again raised on Cleveland. They've replaced the C with the number 5. We Bullin, Bloods use that term similar to rolacking. Instead of cooling or hanging out, we're bullin'. And then Rock Slug, as we discussed with some of these social media posts, gang members will often use their gang's acronym and then their nickname or their street name in their social media profiles. So in this case, it's Rock Slug for Trontavia Stevens.
And was this video also pulled in 2012?
It was.
Right, and again, that when Rock Crew was associating themselves with SMM, or sex, money, murder?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now I wanted to show you what's been admitted as Defense Exhibit Williams 9 and Williams 26. Now, as we've just seen in his tweets and in Mr. Williams' tweets, as well as tattoos on his body, is your opinion that he identifies as being a blood?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And the fact that he is wearing blue in any of these defense exhibits and he's a blood, is that an issue?
It is not.
Why not?
So gangs represent their gang through the use of specific colors, but certainly in the current time and all over the country, even in California, OGs, members of these gangs will wear different colors, even rival gangs' colors, and they're just not representing the gang through the use of those colors. So it's not one of those things where it's unacceptable for a member of a gang to never wear a color used by another gang.
And in your experience as a gang investigator, have you seen Crips wear red?
I have.
Okay. And have you seen other Bloods wear blue?
I have.
All right. Do you know who Snoop Dogg is? Do you know who Snoop Dogg is?
I do.
And how are you familiar with him?
I was first familiar with him through his music back in the 90s.
Okay. And are you aware if he claims or self-identifies as a member of a gang?
I am.
And what gang does he self-identify with?
He claims association with the Crips and specifically the Rolling 20s Crips.
And what is their gang color identifier?
It's blue.
All right. And do the Crips have any specific gang hand signs that they use?
They do.
Okay, and what is that?
They throw the C hand sign similar to what we've seen previously today.
And are you familiar with any dance movements that the Crips did or do?
I am.
And what is that?
They do one called the Crip Walk.
Okay. And to your knowledge, did the Crip Walk originate with the gang primarily for gang members?
It did.
Okay. And as a result of Snoop Doggy Dogg's fame and popularity, did that Crip Walk become popularized with him as he became a bigger artist?
It has.
Okay. And is the fact that it became popularized through Mr. Williams, through Snoop, did that take away anyway from
Leading relevance?
I'll sustain as to form. I'm going to overrule this to the relevance. Mr. Matthews.
Is there any takeaway of the fact that the Crip Walk started as a gang identifier to the fact that it's now popularized, if that question makes sense?
Objection ambiguous.
Well,
I'm going to overrule the objection. Can you answer that?
I think so. And to be clear, the Crip Walk is still a gang identifier, but what we've seen as gang culture has infiltrated more into popular culture, that sometimes these gang identifiers have actually become part of popular culture and may be used or seen outside of the use of the gang itself.
are you familiar with Mechanicsville?
I am.
And how are you familiar with Mechanicsville?
Through my law enforcement career.
And have you ever worked or had any investigations in Zone 3, Mechanicsville?
Many.
And I'm sorry, is Mechanicsville in Zone 3?
It is.
Have you ever, in all of your years working within Zone 3 in Mechanicsville, ever heard that neighborhood called 30 Deep?
Not the neighborhood, no.
Okay. What is your understanding of 30 Deep?
30 Deep is a gang that is based in Mechanicsville.
Okay. Now, I want to talk to you a little about gang warrants. In your experience as a gang investigator, is it the patrol officer's responsibility or responding officer's responsibilities to place any gang warrants on an individual when they effectuate an arrest?
It can be.
Basis, you have objection?
Yeah.
Basis?
Beyond the scope of what this court qualified. No. Never discussed.
I'm going to overrule the objection, sir.
It can be, although it is not typically or often.
It's not typically.
Or often.
Why is that?
Our gang statute has
Basis
goes into law.
Same objection.
With APD, although they can, why do they normally give certain cases over to the gang unit?
oftentimes yes.
Why is that?
Investigating crimes that may be gang motivated require additional investigative workload that may be outside of the ability based on training and experience, and oftentimes just based on the time investment required to gather the necessary evidence, to conduct the necessary investigation, and put together those pieces to be able to reach the conclusion of the investigation.
And is the gang unit always made aware by patrol officers or responding officers of crimes that may be gang associated? Are investigators in the gang unit always made aware of crimes that might be committed by potential gang members?
And we aren't.
Foundation is the speculation.
I sustain the objection.
Your Honor, he's an expert and he can.
You need a letter from the predicate.
In your experience, is the gang unit always made aware of individuals who they arrest that might be gang members?
Yes, Your Honor, continues to call for speculation.
Overrule, sir.
And same objection to the foundation.
Overrule, sir.
We are not always made aware.
And why is that?
For a variety of reasons, including that sometimes the officer who may be having this interaction or making this arrest
That be getting in mind of someone else, Your Honor.
Would you stop, Mr. Steele? State the basis for your objection. I'll rule upon it. Do not speak your objection.
That was my objection.
I'll overrule your objection, sir. And that is not a proper objection.
And it's speculation.
That would be a proper objection.
Can he answer?
I'm going to overrule the objection. He can answer it.
oftentimes the officer may not be aware that the person that they're interacting with or arresting is associated with a criminal street gang. And if they are aware, there are certainly times where the evidence that may link this crime to participation in street gang activity may not be apparent.
Not the scope of this witness's knowledge, Your Honor. It's all speculation.
Mr. Steele, I'm not going to warn you again. That's not a proper objection. A proper objection would be speculation. I'll sustain it on that basis. You can rephrase.
Let me ask you this. Back in 2012 and 2017, what, if any, training did patrol officers and responding officers have in identifying gang evidence?
Objection on the foundation.
Overrule, sir.
During our police academy, officers receive a 4-hour class on criminal street gang identification.
Okay. And how long is the police academy total?
It's approximately 6 months long.
And within that 6 months, they only get this 4-hour training?
That's correct.
Okay. And are you aware of the basic gang training that officers get in the academy?
I am.
What generally is the information that they're learning in that 4-hour training?
This class is designed around gang awareness primarily, so it's providing a foundation, an understanding of gangs that exist in the city and common gang identifiers, including signs, symbols, tattoos, graffiti, attire, and other distinguishing characteristics. And the goal of the class is to provide the students, in this case the police recruits, with a foundational understanding, ability to begin to recognize gang identifiers that they may see on the street.
Was there a time in which in your experience, that responding officers were not informing the gang investigators about potential individuals or members of gangs as a part of their arrest?
Objection, Your Honor, that calls for speculation.
I'm going to overrule the objection.
Yes, certainly.
Okay. And as a result of that, were patrol officers given more training outside of that 4-hour training course?
Yes, ma'am.
And why is that?
We, several years ago, implemented a gang refresher training during our in-service training that every sworn officer in the department attends in an effort to strengthen their understanding, their recognition of gang identifiers, and also to help us begin to implement a workflow where they know who to notify and when, so that we can capture this information as early as possible and conduct necessary investigations.
Now, let me ask you this. As a gang investigator, do you always take out gang warrants when a known gang member is alleged to have committed a crime?
Your Honor, relevance and bolster.
I'm going to overrule the objection.
No, we do not.
And why is that?
The main reason is that there's two levels of
Check on the basis of self-serving.
Overruled.
there are two levels that we will reach in a crime that may involve a gang member. And the first would be if a crime is gang related. That means that the suspect or the victim or a gang is some way involved in the crime at all. The second level that we're looking for is to show that or discover that a crime is gang motivated. That means that the crime is intended to further the interest of the gang itself, and the gang is the reason for the crime or the purpose of the crime, in some way benefiting or strengthening the gang.
And when you are determining to take out an additional warrant for gang activity, how do you determine if it's in furtherance of the gang? What factors are you going to be looking at to determine?
You may. I want to just take up two things. One, I'll take up the basis for the objection, and then two, I'm going to call it a day after this since it's 5:20, and I'll excuse our jurors when they come back in. I'll tell them what time we're going to come back in for tomorrow morning. So first thing is, Mr. Steele, what's the basis for your objection?
So, Your Honor, I'm not looking at this. The series of questions involved why does the detective do certain things, or why doesn't the detective do certain things? Why does he take out warrants, or why doesn't he take out warrants? Something to that effect. And that's when I asked if we could approach. And the conduct of the police officer in obtaining a warrant should not be before the jury.
But you opened the door as to it during your earlier examinations about several witnesses. In fact, you said, well, you didn't take out a gang warrant, you didn't take on any, you called a gang investigator, and you have otherwise put that in issue, along with several things about training of gangs. That's what the court heard. So that's why I allowed it in at this time.
I believe that that's a separate issue. That issue went to...
I'll let State go ahead and respond to that, but go ahead and finish your objection, sir.
That goes to a different issue, I believe. That issue goes to what you overruled about other people getting the mindset, which was my objection, of other people or other officers not doing something or not telling the police or not telling the gang unit something. This goes to different. This is this witness. Why does he or doesn't he take out warrants on gang-related cases? And it just doesn't matter.
Okay.
And the conduct of this officer doesn't matter. And it just should not play in the role of a jury. It bolsters his power as an officer to go to a judge and decide who I'm going to take out a warrant or not. The jurors will decide the indictment.
Okay, Ms. Hilton?
Your Honor, the state's response is Investigator Belknap, as an investigator, can talk about what factors that he or other gang investigators look at when they're taking out warrants. And it's extremely relevant because not just Mr. Steele, but Mr. Matthews, on cross-examining a number of different witnesses, a number of different officers, asked multiply, did you take out gang warrants? Did you take out gang warrants? Over and over and over again. I believe it's important, or it's relevant for the jury to hear what factors may go in as to why a gang warrant was not taken out. And so they can make a determination about why in particular instances a gang warrant was or was not taken out. And so it's the defense has opened the door to this line of questioning, given their cross-examination of a number of multiple witnesses prior to Investigator Belknap.
All right, I'll overrule Mr. Steele's objection on relevance and bolstering. Mr. Matthews, did you have an objection, sir?
Thank you so much, Your Honor. Your Honor, I would ask that the court, when the propounder is asking the witness, does the Atlanta Police Department always take out gang warrants of that nature? I would ask the court to look at that as calling for every officer that's on the street who makes an arrest to get for Detective Belknap to get into their mind and say to this jury, well, they didn't do it because they didn't have this training, or they didn't do this, or they didn't do that. And for that reason, that is why I'm asking the court to consider that is calling for speculation for Belknap to get into their minds.
Ms. Hilton, you care to respond?
Your Honor, Investigator Belknap, as an investigator, would be able to talk to, in his experience as a gang investigator, whether or not warrants are usually taken out, always taken out, for the reason I just stated, that he can talk about what factors may go into whether or not a warrant is taken out. Additionally, Your Honor, Investigator Belknap is at times a part of the continuing education that officers receive, so he has a basis in the knowledge to know why maybe responding officers don't do it, and when those responsibilities are transferred or transitioned to the gang unit. Additionally, within the gang unit, they usually work collaboratively, so he would have a basis or understanding of knowing when and if gang warrants are taken out and working in that collaborative environment.
I'm going to overrule the objection, Mr. Matthews, okay. All right, Mr. Harvey?
Yes, sir. Since we specified that the reason this is being allowed in is specifically the cross-examination of the renewed my motion for 105 instruction, I opened the door to nothing whatsoever. Whether it comes in, Your Honor, as a response to those who opened the door, the whole purpose of a 105 instruction is to provide that it may be admissible against some defendants, but not all.
Ms. Hilton?
Your Honor, again, this is a conspiracy case, and evidence against one co-conspirator is evidence against all co-conspirators.
Mr. Harvey, I'm still going to overrule your objection. All right, I'll note your continuing objection for the purpose of the record. All right, I'm going to call our jurors back in, and we'll pick up tomorrow morning, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Sergeant, can we go ahead and call for our jurors, please? Could I ask Detective Bill to come back in, please? All right, thank you, Sergeant. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Detective, come back up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, since the hour is nearly 5:30, it would be a natural stopping point at this point in time, so we're going to go ahead and, unless you have some strong objection to the contrary, recess for the evening, and we'll pick up tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, if I could ask you to report for 9 o'clock for an anticipated 9:30 start time, and we'll work and see where the day leads us tomorrow, okay? Any questions? First, Detective Burnett, we're going to go and excuse you as well. If you could be back tomorrow morning for 9 o'clock. Sir, please don't discuss your testimony with except the attorneys in this case, all right? Yes, sir. All right, sir. We'll see you tomorrow. Yes, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, any ministerial inquiry of me? Anyone? Okay, let's go through a couple of our nightly admonitions. Remember, leave your notepads in the basket in the back. Go ahead and take a juror sticker so you can put that on first thing in tomorrow morning. Remember all the other admonitions I mentioned to you about acceptable things that you can and cannot do. Ms. Somana tells me that she is contacting those of your employers that still believe that you're here. Okay? So we're taking care of that on an as-needed basis, so not to worry about that. But suffice to say, please don't have any conversations inconsistent with what we have told you that you cannot talk about, remember. So if anybody should want to talk with you or try to talk with you about this case, your first duty would be, of course, to contact our name and myself. But remember, don't go visit any scenes. Don't go and try and add to your understanding by looking up anything on the web. viewing any news accounts of anything or recaps of this particular day. Remember, you can only consider what's lawfully presented in the four walls of this courtroom. It would be a violation for you to consider anything else that's extra or outside this courtroom, okay? Can you talk about the cases you're coming in here in the morning or going away in the evening? No, you cannot. All right. And remember, I told you can't do it in onesies and twosies, and you can't certainly talk about it with your better halves or friends and neighbors or relatives over libations or soft drinks at any other event, any other locations, okay? All right. Any other questions of me? Remember, we are not going to be in session on Friday to allow for a couple of you that have, as my wife says, procedures or other things that have going on you need to go ahead and take care of. And that certainly, as I tell people all the time, life happens and you practice your vocation. So things happen and we'll certainly build in time for that. So not to worry. All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for your patience, your continued patience that you've given us thus far, and will continue to give us throughout the resolution of this matter. And ladies and gentlemen, unless you have anything else for me, we'll go ahead and release you for the evening, and we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, okay? All right? All rise for a jury. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our jury has left us. Please be seated. Okay, anything I need to be made aware of before we recess for the evening?
Your Honor, as to Mr. Steele's request to speak with Officer Andre Bent, I have called him here. He is in his vehicle, and he will come and be available for anyone who wants to speak with him.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay, is that your desire, Mr. Steele?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's that issue. Anything else, madam?
Not as it relates to Officer Bent. I will let co-counsel decide if there's other matters.
Ms. Hilton?
Your Honor, Mr. Steele has provided some of the tweets that he intends to get into with, I assume, Investigator Belknap on cross. I will have the opportunity to look at those tweets this evening, but from my brief overview, I believe there will be some objections to that. The state will be concluding the direct examination, we believe, in the morning. And so we would need an opportunity to hear argument on those tweets at some point in time after the conclusion of the state's initial direct of Investigator Belknap.
Okay, do you have those tweets and then the proposed response to those particular tweets that I can look at?
Mr. Steele has the tweets.
Nope, you got them.
Oh, we have.
You said you have about 80 tweets that you were going to get into.
Yeah, so we're completed our portion of the tweet. This is what.
So you completed through Officer Belknap, Investigator Belknap. Now you've already completed those.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so on cross, it is conceivable that Mr. Steele is going to complete the conversations to those tweets.
We believe that that's the purported portion, but there's going to be objections, and we don't believe that
Has he shown you those tweets?
he has. That's why I need to finish going through. But in my brief overview, I don't believe these are direct responses to the tweets that we introduced. They might have been on the same day, but not a direct response to the particular tweet we introduced.
But did they complete the thought?
No.
Mr. Steele?
That's the state's position. It does not.
Mr. Steele?
I stand by my representation. They do, the rule of completeness, they put everything in context. So yes, they apply.
If the tweets apply to or complete a conversation, I would be more inclined to admit them. It doesn't make a difference if they're done that day or whatever. They complete that particular thought, then I'll take a look at it. But if they don't, then I won't admit them. Because it's consistent with the case law that you've demonstrated to me.
Yes, Your Honor, so we would need to look at them on a case-by-case basis because some of it will be not a direct response or completing that conversation. So again, there's about, and I haven't gone through, maybe about 80-something tweets that we do not believe is responsive to any of the tweets that we placed in. So I don't know if we're going to handle it case by case and they can object on a case by case basis, but this entire booklet is not responsive to the tweets that we introduced.
Okay. Well, I'll start out by taking it case by case, and we'll see what happens. And if I need to recess and allow me to do that, then I'll do that accordingly. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else?
Not on behalf of Mr. Williams.
Anybody else? No, I didn't ask you, Ham. So. Say again? Yes.
Judge.
Aren't you getting a little prohibited sign on your wireless? Anyone?
Yes.
Can you, Deja, we've got a couple. Can you raise your hands if you're getting the prohibited sign on the wireless? We got about 3 or 4.
Can we try to press this button?
The center button.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, probably need to check all of them because there's only one that wasn't. This one's okay. That one's fine. Okay, folks, unless you have anything else, I'll release you until tomorrow at 9 o'clock, and we'll get started as soon thereafter as everybody gets here for between 9 and 9:30, okay? All right, we're in recess. If you could bring up your listening devices, please.
That's all we'll do. Sorry.